Sharon from Mad Paper Crush. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be working on my 2025 Junk Journal Planner. And as I was looking through some of my old planners, I found one that I had done several years ago. I think this was in, I don't even know if it was like, I don't know, 2020, I think I started this one in. But I realized I had made this one using kind of an interesting binding technique. Now it's no-sew. It kind of looks fun on this side, but I love it because it's lay flat. So as I was looking at this journal that I had done, whatever, 4 years ago, you can see that as you open it through the whole thing, it lays very flat, which makes it really easy to work in. So I wanted to do that, and I don't think I ever did a tutorial on how I did this. So I was going to do that, and this is the journal that we're going to make. And you can see that when you open it, it stays very flat when you want to work in it. And this is the kind of journal that I want to have when I'm doing my planning. It just makes it easier if both of, the pages lay really flat here, and that's what we're going to be working on. So you can see this one has about a 1.5 to 2 inch spine, I think. And I use some old book covers for my cover. And we're going to go ahead and go through this step by step so that if you want to make this, try to do this lay flat, no-sew binding, you can do it yourself too. So join me as we make a 2025 Junk Journal Planner that is lay flat. Let's go. All right, so the first thing we need to do is gather our materials, and I am using book covers from an old book. This is The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady that I have taken the inside pages out of already, and I'll probably cover this because it's pretty plain and I don't know, not that exciting, but this is about the size that I wanted to do for mine. So you want to just pick boards that are the size you want to do. So these are just about 7 inches wide by about 9 inches tall. So that's what I'm going with, 7 by 9. And then I just gathered up a whole bunch of papers that were around that size. So when I'm first making this, I don't want them to be too much off of the height. So most of the time, the height is going to be the full 9 inches, but I may not have a full 7 inches wide. So most of these I actually cut at around 6 3/4 anyway, just because I didn't want them sticking out of the cover too much. But like this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is only 6 inches wide here. So you can definitely go shorter so that your pages don't, stick out of this end. But I would keep this pretty close. I'll show you something we can do if you have some smaller pieces that you want to put in, but you want to keep it close to the height for most of your pages. All right, so you gather as many of those as you want. I'm doing around 40, I think. So we'll have to see how that works. And then what I've done, and this is where using up your scraps is great. You can take your digitals that you've printed, or you can take scrap paper that you have left over. This is really good when you're just cutting off like an inch or so off of scrapbook paper or something like that. I cut them all down to 9 inches, and then I just cut a little angle off of each end going in. So on one side, on the fold side, I should say, they are 9 inches long, but then on the open side, they're a little bit less. And I did that because I don't want those ends sticking out of the bottom and giving me paper cuts or something like that. Now, the one thing I will say is, if you're using papers like that you've printed and you've just printed on regular copy paper, that might not be thick enough. Now, because we're going to be gluing all these together, you're probably going to be okay, but I just want to make you aware that regular copy paper or printer paper might be a little light for what we want to do. So I have things that are printed on 32-pound presentation paper, and then I also have just scrapbook paper that I'm not sure what pound it is, but it's not cardstock. It's just scrapbook paper, that is just regular scrapbook paper. So that's what I have for mine. And I have all different designs, like you're seeing most of the insides, which are white, but you can see I have all different colors, all different designs of things here that I am using for my binding piece. So You can use all the same if you want to, if you want it to look a little bit more streamlined. I didn't worry about that because I think this will add some fun into the book as well. So that's how we're going to get started here. And then the other thing you need is glue. I'm probably going to be using a glue stick for most of this. You could certainly use your Beacon 3-in-1 glue or your Fabri-Tac. You could probably even use this art glitter glue, although I think this is good glue for specific work. I don't necessarily think you need to waste it on what we're going to be doing here. And then any other, kind of glue. If you have just a regular PVA glue, that would be fine. You just want something that's going to hold our papers in. So, that you need the scissors and maybe a paper cutter to cut these down. Okay, sorry about that. My husband's home, obviously. Okay, so I just wanted to go over a couple things before we start putting everything together. So I wanted to go over how I made these strips, just so you're aware. Now, you're going to want to cut them the height of whatever cover you are using. Mine is 9 inches tall. So I'm going to use my paper cutter, and I have some offcuts here just to kind of show you what I'm doing. So I'm just going to take these little offcuts here, and I'm going to cut them down to 9 inches tall because that's the height of my book. And then I'm also going to cut them down to 1 inch wide. So this is what will be showing out the back. So this is kind of what is making up our spine. And these are only about, I don't know, 1 3/4. So I can't do 2 really. I can really only do, 1 out of that strip that I had, but certainly you could, do however many you need to. And now you just fold these in half, these 1 inch pieces in half. And I like to use my scoreboard for this. It makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to mark it on the 1/2 inch line since this is 1 inch wide. And I don't know, I thought I had more than 2, but maybe they're stacked on top of each other. Yes, they are. Okay, I'm not sure if this one got enough of a score, so we'll just kind of go over that real quick. And then I'm going to fold that in half. And it doesn't have to be perfect because they're kind of going to be open on each other. Okay, so then after you have them folded in half, just to make it so that these ends don't end up sticking out of the bottom of your book or the top of your book, I take this folded piece of paper, and then I'm just gonna, starting at the folded side, I'm going to cut in just a little triangle like that, so that when I start gluing things into the book, these ends won't stick out anywhere. So that's how we come up with these pieces that we're going to use for our binding. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm going to probably put some distress ink on some of these. I'm not sure exactly how many yet because we're going to be gluing our pages inside of these. So this is how it's going to look. You can see there's going to be some white showing, so I might want to put some distress on those as well. And then I just also wanted to kind of go through the pages that I cut down. So I had started with some book pages, and these are actually book pages from the book that I'm using the cover for. So these are the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady that I'm going to use inside there because I always think it's fun to use pages from whatever, book that you're using. And then I have some of my old ledger pages, which of course I love and have to pretty much include in everything because I think the writing is just absolutely stunning. You can see there. And I love to have that in my journals. And then I just have these are some book pages. Now you'll see that these are not as wide. So the width of my book is about 6 3/4 inches, and these are less than that. But I'm okay with that because I like to have some variation in my journal. So that's why I chose these. These have been coffee stained, and they're also pretty sturdy, which is why I chose them. So some book pages, like I was thinking it would be fun to have some dictionary pages in here, but most of the dictionaries I have very thin pages, and I don't think they'll hold up that well in this journal, so I'm not going to use them here. And then I have some old surveyor's maps that I cut down, and I just thought these were really fun to use and maybe put in there. So I cut down a couple of different kinds of those. And then I went ahead and did do just some plain pages in case I just want to write something without adding on top of the page. So I have those in there. I have some more fun book pages. These are also not as wide. I have some book pages from a botanical book that I have that I love. The pictures in these are all like vintage illustrations, which I think are just beautiful. I like to have some pages that are just pretty in my journals. And then I went ahead and also cut down some digitals that I had printed out. So I have, these are from my marbles, all the marbles kits that I have. I'll link those down below if you're interested in those. And then I have just some other pages. Now, actually, these are not as tall as most of the pages. So all of my pages I've been cutting to about 9 inches tall. This is about 8.5 because this is a US letter paper. But a 1/2 inch is going to be okay. We're going to go with it. And then I didn't even cut this down. I just folded it into the right width, and I'm going to use that. So that's another thing that you can do to sort of add some variation. I did this one because I wanted it to fold out the other way. And these are really white on the back side, but we'll figure out how to deal with those as we go. This is just another coffee dyed paper that I tore down on one side. I like to have my edges looking a little different. And then I have some more just cut down digitals that I put in place here. So this was a US letter tall. I did cut it down to the right height, and then I just folded over, the side there. And then some of these I just completely cut down to the right size, 9 by 6 3/4, which is what mine is. So this is my luminary kit that I have here. This is a kit I'm working on that I'm hoping to release. And I believe this one is from my friendship. No, it's my Perpetual Autumn kit that I have there. So I thought this one would be fun because while it's not plain, I could also write over this, and the background, wouldn't stick out too much or cause it, be a problem for me to write on, like something like this might. So, all right. So those are all my pages. I probably have more pages than I need here. I'm going to kind of decide what I need as I go. But now I'm just going to prep some of these, I think I might just start gluing them together. I was going to do some distress on them, but I think I'll do that later if I want to. So the other thing that I could do is once we're gluing these in, since I'm going to be gluing them onto one side here, I showed you the other side would be showing. I could even add just some washi tape to cover up that, that bright white if I wanted to. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and then we're going to decide how to deal with all of that if we want to later on. All right, here comes the fun part, the flow part, where we're just going to start making the inside pages. So to make the inside pages, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these, and I realized I did not cut this one down, so I need to cut this one down quick. So I'm just going to cut these little triangles off here so I have them correct on here. Okay, so to glue these down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab I have my little glue book, which is an old garden seed book. Okay, I'm going to take my glue stick, and because I'm lefty, I guess maybe I should switch these around. I don't know if that would make it easier or not. You know what? I'm just going to leave it here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue one side of these, and you have to be thinking right side up. So I want these glued on the right hand side of this. Now this paper goes sideways, but that's okay. So then I'm just going to put this down on there, make sure I'm not going over the crease in any way. And that's it. So you can see I've glued it to the back there. It's glued on, and I'm just going to set this aside. So let me just kind of do that again with, I don't know, one of these other ones. So let me do one of the short ones here that we have. And I'm going to try to kind of, look at the ends that I'm using and pick different ones, so that they're all going to be mixed up. Now, this isn't the order I'm going to have my papers in, but this is how I'm going to, just start putting them together. So once again, I want the right side of my little folded paper here to hold my paper. So that's how we're going to glue this down. Now, like I said, because I'm left-handed, I kind of have to turn it around to do it. You may not have to do this if you're right-handed. And then we're going to put this down on here. Now, I do need to be careful on this one because the page isn't as tall as my little folded piece here. When I kind of fold it together, I need to be sure it's open, because if I got any glue on these top edges, I don't want it to be glued, you know, together. So, all right, so this one is glued down. I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm just going to keep going like this, grabbing a piece of paper, grabbing a, you know, one of these, I don't even know what to call these. My spine folds, I don't know. If you have some good ideas for what I should call these things, drop it in the comments below. That would be great. Okay, so let's see. And I want to be sure that I try and get them even between the lines too. I don't want this to be, oh my goodness, this one's sticky. Okay, I just want to be sure I didn't get it over the fold. And I don't want it to be too out of, you know, measurement top or bottom either, because then obviously it'll stick up too much or down too low. So I'm just going to keep going like this. I'm going to take a page. Let's grab a book page. I like this one, how this one has a torn edge on this side. You could, you know, put this side in if you wanted to, but I kind of like the torn edge there. And these don't really matter, you know, what, I know I said the right side, but you just have to choose which side is your right side to put it onto, and that should be okay. I think it might be easier for me if I do it like, no, it's not. It's not going to be easier for me to do it that way. I think my problem is I don't have enough room on this, my little desk here underneath the video. All right. Whoop. Okay. Okay. Next one done. This one isn't quite right. Maybe I should kind of fold it and then jam it in there. Oops. As long as it's not stuck together, so that it's right on the edge. Let's see. This one seems like it might be a little tall. I might have to cut this down. So I'm going to put this all the way at the top. And if we need to cut off some of the bottom, we will. There we go. Okay. Now I think I got that. No, I didn't. Oh, that's my problem. My glue isn't sticking down. This is a really old thing of glue. I think I'm going to go grab a new one because this one is not sticking as good as it should. Okay, I grabbed a brand new one and I realized that this one is still white. So they must all be kind of old or something sitting down here. I'm not sure why they lose their blue. This is supposed to be a magic blue glue stick that it goes on blue and dries clear. But yeah, not for me. Okay, so I'm going to try this again, doing this kind of the same way. If I keep this folded just a little bit so that I can get it into the crease a little bit better. And then hopefully, I think the problem was this, this one edge of this paper is kind of wants to flip up. So, all right, I'm going to make sure that's good and glued down before I let that go. You can see how this one wants to kind of curve up. I think that was my problem. Well, besides the glue not sticking. I mean, that was the other thing. All right, I'm going to make sure that's nice and secure, and then I'm going to put that aside, and I'm just going to keep going. So I'll be back when I'm done, because I'm sure you don't want to watch me do all these pages like that, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, it took me a while, but I have all my little spine pieces onto my sheets of paper, and right now I have them divvied up just by sort of what they are. So I have like the original book pages here. I have the book pages that are shorter here. I have the pages that have folds in them. I put those here. I have blank pages. I have my just digitals or scrapbook pages that I cut down. This other book page here, I separated that out because what I'm going to do, let me just finish. So I have my ledger paper here, and I have my survey maps here. The reason I have them all like this is because I want them to be you know, I don't want all the same kind of sheets to be together. So it's easier for me to put something together if I kind of have them in piles of likeness, and then I can just grab from whatever pile I want to get started. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to, let me think how I want to do this, because I want to pick out maybe something I want at the beginning. So of course I'm going to choose either my ledger paper here, which these are beautiful, to be my very first page. So I like this one. So we'll start with either that one or maybe one of these pages. Oh, we could do toadstools. That's fun. April. Okay, where's the one? I think I put it on the other side probably. Thought I had that. Oh, you know what? I think that's in here, which I could use one of these too. Oh, this one. So I was thinking maybe that one would be nice to be first, or my ledger paper to be first. I think I'm going to make it this one. I think I'm going to do this one first. So because I want this to be my first page, I'm going to set it aside because I'm going to start kind of from the back. So what we're going to do is now we're going to start gluing these all together. And now to do that, I am actually going to use a heavier glue because I want to be sure nothing comes apart. So after we get it together, we're going to be adding some more things that will make sure, you know, these are tacked down really well, but I want to use this glue to put them together. So this is this is Beacon Magna-Tack it's called. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's kind of like the Beacon 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac. It's like those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick something maybe that I want to be the last page. And I think I will choose one of these for my last page because they're nice and sturdy. And that'll be where I start. So I'm going to start with this one, and then I'm going to choose something to go on top that's a little bit different. So maybe I'll take one of these to go on top. And then how I'm going to put them together, and it's probably pretty hard to see with all of these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my piece down from the sheet that I have it on. I'm going to put my glue here, and then I'm going to glue these together like that. So then these will go together like that. So that'll be two. I'll pick my next one. Let's see, maybe I'll do a plain one next. That'll go on here. Once again, I'm going to glue onto the top here and then put this on top of that. And then I'll choose my next one, which maybe will be, let's do a marbled sheet next. And same thing, gluing on the top and putting them together. So now I have a couple of these, and I will do them first so that you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to move these all out of the way because it's going to be hard for me to work and to glue everything down with these kind of here like this. So I'm going to put them in other places, and we'll start by gluing these down. Okay, so now I have my sheet that I want to be my last sheet, and I'm going to just take my glue. And I just have a little piece of deli paper there to kind of keep things nice and neat, hopefully. Okay, so actually I think I'm going to put my deli paper like this so that when I spread this out, I don't have to worry about getting it on the paper. And then I'll take my next one and put it down right on top, and I'll make sure that it's really even as I can get. Now you do want to take your time with this part. You do want them to be as even as possible because then your spine won't, you know, be wonky when we're done. So take some time with this. Got my two together. I'm going to take my deli paper once again, put it in here. Maybe it'll go better in this way. Put my glue down. Make sure it's spread out because I do want it to get to the edges as best I can. Oops, gotta go from the bottom here. Put this one on top. And I like this glue because it does give you a little bit of workable time to make sure you have things as even as possible. And you could even take like a ruler or something here as you go to start to make sure that you know, things are going as straight as possible as we go. Do this next one. Like I said, I am going to take my time as I go through this because this is going to get pretty big. And my finger's going to get very gluey. I'm okay with that. Okay, let's put this on. Oh, and this one, my piece is a little bit shorter, I see there. So what I'm really doing now, since this one was a little shorter, this one was only 8.5 instead of 9 inches tall. I'm just going to be sure that my pages line up as best as I can. So I don't want this one to be too low. So I'm going to make sure the pages line up for that one. I think most of the other ones are a full 9 inches tall. All right, so let me see, what didn't I get yet? I could do maybe a ledger one next. Or maybe we'll do a survey map next. Let's see. I'm going to do this one next. And you can see I'm also just trying to be sure each piece that I put down, you know, isn't the same. Like I don't want all of the same spine pieces to be together, you know, next to each other. You could do that if you wanted to, but I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that. Let's see if I can get this glue to come out of here. Okay. Next one. Oh, it looks like this is another small one. Isn't that funny? Okay, so once again, I got to make sure my pages are lined up more than the thing here. Make sure that one's not too tall. That one's a little tall. Move it down just a little bit. And then we'll make sure they're right up against the edge. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. Same thing over and over again. Just mixing my pages in, doing different things. Let's see, we'll do this guy next. I think this one's 9 inches. I thought most of them, these end pieces were the right size, but that's what happens. I was going to make another one that was shorter, so I think I must have gotten some of them mixed in. Okay. Now this one is 9 inches, so I'm going to be sure got everything lined up, and I can see that like looks like it's coming in just a little bit. So I want to be sure my pieces don't start, you know, coming over this way, because then my spine won't be straight. So that's the other thing I'm going to try to be consistently working towards. Lining them up, but lining them up this way as well. All right, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep finding some different pages. Let's see, what do we got? Ledger page. Maybe I'll put this guy next, or one of these next. I think I'll put this one next. Oops, where's my... Looks like I got stuck on a little bit of glue there, but that's why I have the deli paper there, because that will really help to be sure I'm not gluing all my pages together. You don't want that. Now you can see how there is a little edge there, so I want to be sure I'm getting it lined up and down this way and totally on top as best I can. Can't say that enough. Okay, now I can move that out. And I'm just going to keep going, taking my time and making sure everything is really lined up. Okay, real quick before I go on, I just want to tell you what I did. So I went through all my different stacks of different types of paper, and I just made a stack of them in the order that I think I want them. So you can kind of see, I mean, they're all just kind of with their folds right together, but I went through and did, you know, one with a fold, one that was blank, my short book pages, regular book pages, ledger pages, map, kind of like that all the way through through the thing here. So you can see they're all different as they go in a stack. But what I'm going to do is, as I'm working on it, because I'm working from the back, these are working from back to front. So I'm going to pull from the top. You can see this here. Pull from the top and work my way this way. So as I go, I'm just going to keep pulling from the top and putting them on. So I think that's going to make it a little easier than trying to figure out what page goes next in all those piles that I had. So now I have them evenly or fairly evenly kind of spread out throughout my book. And I know that I'll have a different page every time I turn it, which is what I wanted. So that's how I'm going to continue. I just wanted to let you know because I think it's going to be a little bit easier. And I wanted to kind of give you a way to make it a little bit easier for you too. So here I go. I'm going to keep going. Okay, I'm stopping in to do a little halfway check-in. I just want to show you where I'm at. So I'm about halfway done. I think these are pretty well lined up. I've been trying to make sure I keep them as straight as possible on that side. And I still have more to go here. But I think what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm checking in, I think I'm going to put this one aside. So this is the back part, and I'm going to keep going on top of this one. So I'm going to put this aside to make sure these are all really dry, because I think it's going to be easier to put the two parts together than to continue stacking on top of this already. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to start again with this one here. And then once I get this stack done, then we'll put them both together. So it's going good. And it's been, I don't know how many I've done here, but it's been maybe 20 minutes. So it doesn't take too long, but it does take some time. So this is a good thing to do while watching, you know, a movie or something on TV, to kind of keep you maybe listening to a podcast or something like that, to keep your mind active while you're sort of doing this flow activity. So I'm going to keep going, and then I'll come back when I have the two parts and we'll put them together. Okay, I have my two sides done, my two stacks done, and I went ahead and put my front piece on where I wanted it, and I actually ended up putting it, I would have ended up on this side, but as I was looking through, I kind of wanted a plain sheet close to the front, so I put this one, put my front sheet on here. So as it turns out, it's going to be fine. So you just kind of have to roll with it. All right, so now I'm just going to, as I was doing one page at a time, I'm just going to add these two together to make my full book here. So I once again have my little piece of deli paper in there to keep things from being a mess. Smooth it out, make sure I get some glue all over the place, and then I'm taking this entire piece and putting it on top. Now, I am going to make sure, because you can see, let's see if I can find the end. We're close to the end. Actually, I think this is it. To make sure these get as straight as possible, once again, put them down like this and kind of make sure they're all lined up and top to bottom as well. That looks pretty good. Now I am going to just let this sit for a minute. I may even try and find a couple of books to put on top of it to kind of give it some weight and make sure everything is really dry. So we're going to let that go for a couple minutes, and then we'll be back to work on it. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. I went and had some lunch, and I'm looking at this now. Whoops, what do I have in here? Oh, I have something, my deli paper. I'm like, I thought I got them more even than that. All right, so I've let them dry. Now the next step here is just to make sure there's nothing stuck together. So if there was any glue that seeped out, you want to be sure that, you know, all your pages are loose. So I'm just gonna, so you can see, like here, there's just, ooh, that's a pretty bad one. That was a bad one. But you just want to make sure that all of your pages are loose. They might, you know, pull a little bit, but obviously you want them all to be free. Be free, papers. So there are definitely a couple of spots where I had some glue seep out that I didn't realize. But that's why I'm doing this now, just to make sure we don't stay like that. So I'm just going to go all the way through. Ooh, this is a bad one too. On my toadstools. And the other thing I'm going to be checking for, which I didn't say yet while I'm doing this here. Ooh, I must have glued that one good. Is looking for things like this, where my page might be pulling away from the spot. So I might need to use my art glitter glue that has a little bit, has that nice pointy tip in there, where I can just put a little glue in there to make sure this stays down. And I have to make sure my glue is coming out first here before this works at all. There we go. So now we'll make sure that stays glued together. So those are kind of the two things I'm just going to be checking for to make sure we have working correctly here. I don't know why that one was stuck on the outside. This one looks like it's coming apart a little bit. And the other thing that I had mentioned, so if you don't want to kind of do this, you could just go through, let me see if I can grab something real quick here. My great big bowl of tapes. So you could take some washi tapes here if you wanted to. And this is also where I thought you might, it might be an easy way to cover up some of that blank side of these. So I'm just gonna add some extra glue to my washi tape. I don't know if this is gonna be long enough, but let's just kind of measure it a little bit. Make sure I got some glue on both sides. And then just put that down so that it kind of overlays the page. So you can see that adds some fun there. And then if I wanted to, because there's just a little showing, I could come in with my Distress ink and do a little, down there if I wanted to. So that's another way. You can either, use your glue to make sure all your pages are stuck correctly. And probably if you had a new glue stick, you wouldn't have to worry about this like I'm having to worry about it, because I think my glue sticks are a little bit dried out, and maybe that was the problem there. So once we do that, I'm just going to, check all of my pages, make sure they're stuck down well. And if I'm adding glue, I want to be sure I'm not sticking them together again, because that would be my luck. All right, so a couple little tacky points there that I'm pulling apart, which is good. Ooh, this one's really not stuck well. Look at that. Definitely have to do something with that one. So I think I'm gonna try and hold this up here. See if I have a bulldog clip I can hold these together with so that it'll stay up. I don't know if this glue is drying out or what is going on, but my glue doesn't want to seem to hold together very well on this either. Hopefully that was all I need there. Now I'm just going to make sure I didn't smush any out the sides. Okay, so you can see that I just need to double check everything, because I don't want to have to worry about it later when I'm actually working in it. So that looks pretty good. Now I'll probably go through one more time and just make sure, like I was looking more for pages stuck together than I was for where it might have pulled apart here. So I'll probably go through one more time and just make sure that looks good, or I'll add some washi tape in there to some of these just to make them more fun to look at there. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, before we get started putting the cover together, I just wanted to mention a couple things. I cut 2 more of these spine things, but this time I did them out of cardstock. So, and I not only did I do them out of cardstock, I did them about 1.5 inches wide so that the sides were a little bit longer, because this is what's going to hold our book block here in place. So I wanted to be sure I have enough room to make these really secure. So that's why these are longer, and that's why they're on cardstock. So they're still going to be glued down just like the other ones, but since we're going to be gluing them to the cover, we want to have something a little bit more sturdy. Okay, so now we're also going to do the cover, and I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. You could certainly do anything. If you were working with a book that had a pretty cover, you wouldn't have to maybe do anything to it. But this is a little plain for me. I do like the green, but it's a little plain. And I think I'm going to put something on the front where I don't want this to show. So some of the green's going to show, but I don't want this to show. So I'm going to make this my back covers, because I don't mind if a little bit's showing on the back, but I don't want it on the front. So I'm really just sort of flipping it over like this so that I'm using the back as my front and my front as my back, if that makes sense. So let me go get those pieces, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these, and then we'll get the whole thing together. All right, what I decided to do was to make the front of my book and the back of my book look like a little bit of a ledger or a day book. So I kind of made this template by using a 2-inch square on the top and the bottom. And then I just decided that, you know, I'd have about 1 inch showing over here to make it look like the binding. So that's how I made my template. I came up with this, and I was going to use this paper, but I decided I kind of like this better from my All the Marbles kit. Actually, I think this one was from More Marbles. And so I'm just going to use this template to cut 2 of these out, one for the front, one for the back, and then we're going to attach them. Now, I did print these out on cardstock, and I also put some, because I have an inkjet printer, I did put a clear coat on both of these so that they're a little bit protected. I mean, it's not gonna, they're paper after all, it's not gonna totally protect them, but it'll do a little bit for me, and that's what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put this template on here and cut them out, and then I'll show you how we're going to attach them to the covers. All right, I want to go ahead and put the front and back together first before we put the block in. So I'm going to start with the back. So I always like to start with the back just in case. And I marked these based on how I liked them. So now this is not the way this is going to go. Wait a second. Okay, so this is the front. This is the back, so it's going to open like this and close like this. So this should go like this. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my craft knife, because this is very, it's kind of hard and slippery, and I'm just going to make some marks in it, just kind of in the middle, because I don't want to get in my 2-inch area here. I got to be careful. I just want some marks kind of around the edges where this is going to be going. I think that looks about right without putting too many in there. Okay. And I'm just doing that to hopefully adhere the paper down a little bit better. So now I'm definitely going to use my 3-in-1 fabric tack or magnet tack, whatever this stuff is called, for this. And I'm going to be fairly generous to make sure it stays on. All right. See what happens here. So this is how it closes. So this is going to go like this. And I kind of want to give my top and bottom just a little bit of a margin there. And you can see my word is sticking out, but since this is the back now, I'm not that concerned about it. I don't think I have it centered. So while it's still a little pliable, I'm gonna move that around. Just like that. And so I love how this kind of gives the look of, you know, these being covered edges, even though that's what's covered. So that's fun. All right, so let's do the same thing with the front. This is gonna go like this. And once again, I'm going to try to make some marks here in the middle, whoops, area. Hopefully not too close to the edges, but enough to give this thing some teeth, if that makes sense. All right. And I do this a lot. I don't know if it really helps, but it makes me feel like it does. And I haven't lost something out on one of these when I do this, so I guess that's a good thing. I just feel like when you have something that's a little slippery, making those marks allows the glue to really get in to those cuts and keeps things attached. All right. Now let's put our front on. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to give a little bit of margin between the two. All right, and I might have to come back in there. I don't know. I was hoping I was getting glue close enough to the edge that it would sort of spread to the edge, but I'm not sure I did that. But I love the way that's looking for my front and back covers. All right, and the other thing that I wanted to tell you, which I didn't do a tutorial on because I've done a lot of these in other journals that I've done, is I made inside covers for the front and the back. So this is the back. I have this little flip, and this is a fun little envelope here that you could put things in, and then when you open it up, there's a little tuck spot here. So I'm going to glue this one here, and then on the front I have this one, which is just a nice big pocket on the bottom here, and I have a little belly band so that if I want to tuck things in and sort of keep them under control, I can do that. Now before I glue those in though, we do have to put the block in. So that's what we're going to do first, and I'm going to do that by adding one of these to the front and back of my block. So this is going to go like this. We're going to get that on there so that we can put it on. And actually, I wonder if it would be easier, might be easier for me to put it on here first. And then we can glue this whole big pack on. Let's try that. Once again, I am going to be using this glue because I think it holds really well, and I definitely want it to hold. All right. We're going to line this up at the edge, try and center it between the top and the bottom there. Press that down, make sure it's at the edge. All right, and we're gonna let that dry. And we'll do the same thing with our front piece here. So we're gonna add glue here. Okay. I'll definitely need to let that dry since I got glue all over the place. Luckily, this will be covered up. Okay. Now we're gonna put the front aside again, see how sturdy our back feels before all right, that's feeling pretty good. So I feel comfortable putting this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my glue on this side, and then we're gonna add the book block right onto here. And I am gonna try to cover this whole piece. Once again, for security. Okay. I'm gonna take this, put it on there. I'm gonna try to open up this back one just to make sure I can press it down. See how it did. Looks good. Make sure these are relatively even here. Give that a press. Okay. Now we'll take a look and see how this one's doing. Still a little tacky. I think we'll probably be okay. Well, I definitely don't want it to stick to that front page. So I think I will wait until this is all dry here before I glue that one down. All right, I think we're good. You know what I will do? I will put down some deli paper just to be sure, because I'm an impatient person. Okay, I have the front and the back all glued on, and I gave it some time to sit and really make sure it was glued together, because I don't want to start flipping this around too much until the glue is definitely held together. So now the last thing I need to do is I need to put on my front and back pages so that we'll have it all complete. And now I did sew around these because I like to do that. You definitely don't need to if you're going to make something like this. If you're, you don't even like pockets or something, you can just glue down a piece of patterned scrapbook paper or a digital that you've printed out that you like. You don't have to even do all of this work. But I'm a sewer. I love to sew my paper, and so that's why I did. So this glue doesn't want to come out real well. It's fighting me a little bit, but once again, I'm really going to go to town on this and make sure I have plenty of glue on there. So I definitely don't want this coming out. Okay. And then when I cut these papers for when I'm doing the front and the back, I always just measure, make a little pencil mark and cut them so that I have just a teeny tiny bit of a border here up at the, like a 1/8 inch border up there and on the sides as well. Okay, so that is the back one. Let's do the front one. And I think I'm gonna try and grab my clips again, because these seem to hold pretty nicely. Let's see about doing that. Okay, because I kind of want to hold this up just like that at a 90-degree angle, so I can just glue it down, not have to worry about it. The other thing that I really love about this method, even though it does take a little bit longer and you have to be a little bit more careful, I love that it gives you a lay flat book. So a lot of times when I make journals, if I'm sewing things in or I'm doing them in certain ways, the book doesn't lay flat. And because of I'm going to be using this for planning and probably some journaling as well, I really want something that's going to lay flat. All right, let's see, this bottle is all smooshed. Now let's make sure I get this right side up, because that would be my luck as well. Okay. And I love how these pages that I used for this kind of match the green that I'm going with for the cover. Okay, so now I'm taking these off my clips here. I'm folding that together, and you can see that because I have all of those pieces on every piece of paper, this end is wider than this end, but that gives me room to add things to these pages so that it'll just end up, you know, probably being the right size or the same size all around, I should say. And you can see, I think you can see, it looks like I maybe didn't quite get those two together. You can see that it almost is leaning a little bit this way, but I'm okay with that. So now those are drying, but I'm still going to do a little flip through because I want to show you how this first page, because I have this cardstock on here, is going to pull a little bit, but you'll see as we're going through, everything is nice and flat as you flip through this journal. So when you're writing or doing something, you have a nice, wide open, lay flat journal to do whatever you'd like in. You're planning in, do some junk journaling in. And you can see some of the pages that are a little bit lighter, they do pull up, but they lay flat if you push them down. So, and even as you go through the whole book, now I'm in the middle, you can see that it just lays flat like that. As I keep going through, it does start to pull up a little, but it still lay flat. And I totally love that about this type of binding. It gives me a nice lay flat journal. All right, now we're gonna have to, I'm gonna just put this aside because I really do want everything to dry nice and dry before I really use it too much. But there you have it, friends, a no-sew, lay-flat journal that you can put together and do your junk journal planning in. All right, my 2025 lay-flat planner journal is all ready for me to start working in. And I just wanted to kind of show you that I did add a couple of little embellishments to the front here. I wanted to add a little book plate, so I put that on with some fabric behind so you could see it real well. And this comes out in case I want to change it and want to do something else. I'll probably add the year or something there. And I loved that the ledger page that I used had the name Beach on there. So it makes me think of warmer times since we're in December right now and I'll be starting in January. And then I just put this little metal 5 on there with some sari ribbon just because I thought it looked fun. So there you have my journal all ready to start using. I'll probably just go through it one more time, make sure all my pages are nice and secure, so that I'll be ready to start using it real soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.